I always imagined betrayal would come at me like a car crash, metal, screams, an unmistakable before and after. Instead, it hissed in on a notification sound while my girlfriend snored, drooling faintly onto my chest. We had fallen asleep binge-watching some makeover show. At 2:07 a.m., the screen lit the dark, and because half my face was pointed straight at the phone, I read the preview. Save me some of that sweetness tomorrow. Couldn't stop thinking about your mouth. The sender was Marcus, the new copywriter on her marketing team. In movies, that's when the betrayed lover bolts upright or shakes the cheater awake for a showdown. I did neither. Years in the army taught me that the first reaction is rarely the smartest. I shifted just enough to memorize the pattern she used to unlock her phone. Top right, bottom left, zigzag back, and waited until her breathing settled again. Then I opened the messages. The chat was a landfill of sexts, emojis, inside jokes about me, and calendar references that told the full story. They'd been sleeping together for almost 6 months, mostly during office hours, occasionally in my bed when I traveled for audits. My favorite line was Marcus calling me the human ottoman because I built all our IKEA furniture while he apparently tested its durability later. I copied every photo, every voice memo, every timestamp to my own cloud, and then deleted my presence from her phone's recent apps list, so Face ID brought up TikTok faster than it brought up Wells Fargo. People on our farmers' relationship us advice always scream, "Dump her instantly." That's not my style. Lightning rage feels powerful, but in my experience, the slow avalanche buries deeper. So before sunrise, I decided on 3 rules. 1, she would never hear me beg. 2, she would never frame herself as the victim. 3, I would reclaim every ounce of value, financial, emotional, social, she'd siphoned, quietly. The first rule was easy. I spoke only when operationally necessary. The second and third rules required planning. First, I sketched a timeline. Her lease wasn't on the condo. I had bought it with a VA loan 18 months earlier and added her to utilities for convenience. Our only joint asset was an everyday checking account used for groceries and streaming subscriptions. I printed bank statements, highlighted my deposits in yellow, hers in pale blue, and taped them to a corkboard like a detective. Then I opened a new credit union account and shifted my direct deposit. The joint balance shrank at a pace she blamed on inflation. At work, I pulled every late shift I could volunteer for, stacking overtime. She thought I was hustling for our future Italian honeymoon. I was really stockpiling an exit fund big enough to buy a furnished apartment outright if needed. Meanwhile, I researched off-site storage and hired a private mailbox so future correspondence couldn't be intercepted. While money accumulated, I cultivated normalcy. We went to trivia nights, hosted a Super Bowl party, even babysat her nephew. I studied her tells, the way she avoided eye contact after texting, the preening she did when Marcus's name pinged. That data fed my timeline algorithm. I needed to ensure she wouldn't pivot to damage control faster than my plan could blossom. 4 months in, I initiated Operation Reputation. I compiled the evidence into a zip file labeled Wedding Ideas, uploaded it to a hidden drive, and wrote a concise summary of dates, hotel receipts she'd forgotten in pockets, and screenshots of her calling Derek's wife a frumpy speed bump. I also included a video montage set to elevator music featuring her and Marcus in compromising selfies, because gallows humor keeps me sane. Next came social groundwork. I became inexplicably helpful to her parents, repaired a loose deck board, updated their antivirus, showed her mom how to share Google Photos. I didn't overdo it. just enough so that when the blast came, confirmation bias would keep them on my side. With mutual friends, I casually praised her career drive, setting a baseline image of her that the cheating would violently contradict, maximizing the whiplash. The final month, I tested contingencies. I simulated what would happen if she came home early on exit day, or if Marcus tagged along. A buddy from my old unit agreed to run interference with a bogus plumbing emergency call if necessary. Another friend, Dana, a paralegal, drafted a cease and desist for harassment in case my ex tried to smear me post-detonation. D-Day had to coincide with one of her collaboration marathons, second Thursday in March. Those days she left at dawn and came back fried, sometimes half drunk from coworker happy hour. Perfect. I booked veterans-owned movers under a corporate funding program. They owed me favors from a charity race I organized. I pre-packed everything I owned, or had bought, with QR-coded labels hidden inside boxes in the garage. She never noticed. She thought the garage was my man cave chaos and avoided it. The night before Exodus Thursday, we watched a goofy reality show. She giggled at contestants messing up soufflés while texting Marcus under the blanket. I pretended not to notice and asked if she needed me to wash her car this weekend. She kissed my cheek, told me I was too good, and nestled in. There was a moment, right there, where anger threatened the plan, because knowing someone is betraying you while they enjoy your warmth is a special kind of burn. I inhaled, pictured the corkboard timeline, and let the rage recede into discipline. Thursday, 05:30. She slipped out of bed, showered, and asked if I could iron her maroon blouse. I did, making sure the crease lines were perfect. She left a travel mug for me with a heart doodled in marker. I set it in the sink, poured it out, rinsed the evidence of sentiment, and started the stopwatch on my phone. At 06:45, the moving truck backed into the driveway. 3 ex-Army guys stepped out, saw the QR codes, and wordlessly began the drill. Dining table, sofa, my dresser, the gaming rig. Even the framed photos of my deceased platoon went into padded crates. I left her belongings, the antique vanity, the bookshelf of romance novels, the pink electric scooter, exactly where they were. Absence feels sharper when contrasted with remnants. By 09 Hunquak, we were loading the last box when a neighbor wandered over asking if we were finally eloping. I smiled, said, "Just upgrading," and he nodded, oblivious. At 09:20, I replaced the front door lock with a new smart deadbolt, factory reset but tied to my phone. The garage door code changed next. Utility companies had been scheduled. Power and internet would transfer solely to her name at midnight. I paid any balances first so she couldn't claim sabotage. Now came the note. I typed it days earlier, printed it on thick ivory cardstock, folded once, slid it into an envelope with her nickname in blue ink. Inside, brief lines. I saw every message. The condo is mine. Your things are safe inside. The evidence goes live at 1 p.m. Don't contact me. Beside the envelope, I placed the ring box containing her grandmother's engagement ring. She'd lent it to me, for sizing, months earlier, expecting a proposal soon. I set the box on top of our coffee table, the one I had built, framed by empty space where the couch had been, so that when she opened the door, the symbolism would gut punch instantly. By 10:07, I was on the highway heading toward a leased loft downtown. The dog, Benny, shotgun, tongue lolling. I cued a playlist titled Launch Sequence, built from tracks we never listened to together, reclaiming sonic territory. At 12:59, parked outside my new building, I hit send on the delayed emails, though the service would have done it automatically. Control freaks double tap. I never saw her immediate reaction, but digital aftershocks ripple fast. At 1:16, my phone exploded with calls from her sister, unknown numbers. I let them ring out. At 1:32, her mother left a voicemail weeping apologies and begging me to talk. At 2:07, I got a curt text from her father. "Whatever she did, you deserved better. We're ashamed." That one I starred for later. The funniest fallout arrived next morning. LinkedIn notified me that Marcus had been let go and was open to work. Apparently Derek, his boss and the husband of the woman I'd emailed, did not appreciate the affair occurring on company time. HR considered it misuse of resources. Karma sometimes wears khakis and a laminated badge. I spent the weekend assembling furniture delivered to the loft. Each Allen key twist felt like twisting off another limb of the old life. Benny trotted between boxes, delighted by new smells. On Sunday, my realtor called. An investor offered 30 grand over asking for the condo, sight unseen. I accepted, planning to let my ex negotiate her exit when the new owner inevitably raised questions about tenancy. Not my circus. Monday morning, a bouquet of white lilies arrived at my office with a note. "Please talk to me." I donated the flowers to reception. HR intern snapped a photo for Instagram hashtagged "Flowers for Mental Health." Irony tastes best served live. She switched tactics 2 weeks later, sending a 10-page email describing how she'd felt unappreciated and how Marcus had validated her creativity. She apologized but insisted we had communication breakdowns on both sides. I forwarded the email to Dana, who drafted a response stating further contact would be considered harassment. My ex must have realized the paper trail looked bad. She vanished after that. Friends trickled in with updates. She moved back with her parents, took an Instagram hiatus, and rumor says shopped for personal healing retreats in Bali. Meanwhile, I adopted a hobby of Sunday rock climbing, something she always vetoed as dangerous. I relearned guitar, ate takeout pad thai on the couch, without someone counting carbs beside me. 1 month post-exfiltration, Derek's wife, Melissa, invited me for coffee. We compared timelines, double-checked that neither of us had missed red flags, and ended up laughing more than lamenting. We discovered we shared a love for astrophotography. 3 weeks after that, we drove out to a dark sky park and spent midnight taking long exposure shots while Benny chased moths. When the Milky Way appeared on her camera screen, she whispered, "This is the opposite of their secret hotel rooms," and squeezed my hand. I'm not saying trauma magically morphs into romance. That's Netflix nonsense. But real connection forged in mutual scorched earth feels cleaner than pretending nothing ever burned. Melissa and I agreed to move slowly, 2 damaged people respecting each other's wreckage. 6 months passed. The condo sale closed. I invested the profits into index funds and a battered '98 Land Rover I rebuilt over weekends. It's loud and ugly and perfect for camping trips that stain clothes in ways my ex would have loathed. That first time I splashed through a mud track without anyone shrieking about upholstery, I grinned so wide my cheeks cramped. Every so often, curiosity itches. I'll search her name on social media, a harmless reconnaissance mission. Her latest public post is a clipped quote about forgiving yourself before others can forgive you. Comments are thirsty guys from yoga class. She looks fine, tanned, maybe even happy. That's allowed. My revenge was never about eternal punishment. It was about resetting the scales and walking away lighter. A coworker once asked if I regretted not screaming at her. Absolutely not. Anger gives cheaters a foothold to call you unstable. Silence forces them to shout into an empty canyon, hearing only their own echoes. In that sense, the most brutal thing I did was nothing at all. No answers, no closure, just the gaping void of her own actions. I kept the linen card stock note. The original stayed on the coffee table, but I printed a duplicate for myself. It lives in my desk drawer between a spare guitar pick and Benny's adoption certificate, a miniature museum of turning points. Sometimes, after a day of spreadsheets and long meetings, I open the drawer, run my thumb over the embossed letters, and feel the same serenity I felt on the highway at 10:07 that morning. Revenge, I've learned, isn't fireworks. It's the steady hum of a life recalibrated to the precise frequency of your own integrity. It's driving a rebuilt Land Rover up a dirt road with Benny panting in the back, knowing nobody in the world expects anything from you except the truth you already live. It's drinking cheap instant coffee in a fold-up chair at sunrise, watching Melissa aim her telescope, and realizing the biggest thing in the sky is silent light that traveled millions of years just to decorate your moment. I don't forgive my ex. She engineered that consequence herself. But I also don't think about her while I'm under a star field, mapping constellations with someone who values honesty over convenience. When memory does surface, her hand on my arm, her laughter in the kitchen, I let it exist, then let it pass. That too is power. To anyone reading this on whatever subreddit it eventually lands, you're allowed to leave quietly. You're allowed to pack the dog, the evidence, your self-respect, and go without slamming doors. Fury is loud, but freedom is louder, and its echo lasts longer. Just plan, be patient, and when the hour strikes, press send and don't look back. I don't post updates often, but I promised myself I'd document the moment I felt the loop finally close. Tonight counts. Benny's asleep at my feet while Melissa edits a nebula shot on her laptop, humming off-key to herself. The loft smells like basil from a plant I haven't killed yet. The only souvenir of my ex is that linen paper duplicate. Quiet, precise, final. 30 words that took 300 days to orchestrate. When I reread them now, I noticed something I hadn't intended. There's no period after the last sentence, just the blank margin. Maybe that's the lesson. Closure isn't punctuation. It's a margin wide enough to write something better.